All right, guys, welcome into the podcast. TJ Edwards, my fellow captain, fellow Chicago hometown guy. TJ, how we doing? How was the bye week? How'd that all treat you?
We're good, man. Kind of just hung out around here. I feel like, as you know, this time of the year in Chicago is one of those times where it's cool to be around just because, all the trees and, it's like perfect weather conditions. So it's hard for me to leave, to be honest with you. As you know, we got some golfing a little bit too. It was fun. It was fun to be out there. Could have played better, but it was fun to be out there for sure.
Yeah, I hadn't played in a while, honestly, since before camp. So it was good just to get out and play. But I felt the same way as you in terms of coming back after London. And I was like, oh, do I get on a flight and go somewhere?
100%.
But the weather outlook for the week looked really nice, so I ended up hanging around. So definitely don't regret that at all. But for me, this is the earliest I've ever had a bye week. I don't know how this ranks for you because the past couple of years since I've been here, we've had it week 10 plus. So I don't know how you feel now that having this early bye week.
Yeah, I think honestly this is probably my earliest one too. But I think with us coming in a little earlier for camp and having those, extra couple of days of camp, I feel like it's kind of the perfect time, especially after London too. I'm gonna be honest, I think going into a normal game prep week after that London game that'd have been tough. I'm gonna be honest with you. So that'd have been brutal. So I think it's probably perfect time for us. We got that little Thursday night Thursday Thanksgiving game coming up too. So you get a little extra mini bye, but
yeah, I think the schedule works out well just because we went to 6 weeks. Obviously we had a report early, which made it seem like we've been doing this forever now. But we get here, we do the first 6 weeks. You get the bye week after the Europe trip, and now we go another 6 until we get the Thursday Thanksgiving game. And then I think we play another month or so, 3 or 4 weeks, and we get another Thursday game, and then a little mini bye before the last game of the season, which is kind of nice. So, it'll be interesting to see. I'll kind of have my full thoughts on it once we actually finish the season in terms to see, where my body's at and all that. But
100%.
We'll see where it goes. But I also wanted to, kind of get into you and your background. What's funny that some people don't know is I went to my first St. Viator high school football game was against Lakes. Is that right? It's
Lakes High School. Yep.
Lakes High School for a playoff game. And you know who the quarterback was? It was TJ Edwards. So how are you now a middle linebacker or a linebacker in the NFL when you were a quarterback at Lakes High School?
Yeah. I actually remember that game too. It was maybe second round of the playoffs or whatever. And we're a small school, right? And I know you guys probably had to travel some ways, so we're a small school and we're getting ready pregame, and then these coach buses roll up. I'm like, all right, what is going on right here? And Viator walks out of the buses. I'm like, all right, this is gonna be interesting. I ended up winning that game though, so I'm 1-0 against Viator, so I'm good. But yeah, no, I feel like I played quarterback honestly my whole high school career. I played 3 or 4 games of safety my senior year, just to kind of see. And I think I didn't get a single offer for quarterback, so I'm assuming I was good but not great. But it ended up just kind of working out that way. I only really had one school, Toledo, that offered me an offensive side of the ball, and it was like a slot receiver, and I was like, I don't really know if that's my skill set. But no, I ended up, going to Wisconsin from day one. I was an inside linebacker, but it was kind of a wild transition, I think, at first. But I think, football is football. And when you're playing quarterback, you kind of understand the game, I think, a little bit more, especially in high school. And it was easy for me to kind of translate that to just being in the middle on defense. But I redshirted that first year and then kind of got to really understand my game in a way, and kind of took off from there.
So how did it work out for you coming out of college going into the pros? I know that you weren't the highest drafted guy, so how did that all pan out in terms of that wasn't supposed to be a shot or anything, just no, so people understand your pathway to the NFL, how'd that all work out?
No, for sure. I think I had a pretty good college career, I'd say, in terms of like statistics and accolades and all that. I definitely thought I was gonna be like a middle of the draft guy just because I knew I wasn't gonna test like super well. And I ended up falling all the way out, and Philly came in and picked me up. As soon as the draft ended and all that. But honestly, for me, like I knew it was gonna be a situation where I just like wanted to get to a team and I'd make something work. I feel like, going into that whole process, it was kind of a thing to where, I'm glad we don't play the game in t-shirt and shorts because I think that's just such a weird thing to me that's like, a huge basis on, where guys go, and it's
Crazy.
wild. It's wild to me. But yeah, I ended up going to Philly, and I was probably like eighth on the depth chart when I came in, and honestly, I was a teamer from day one. The special teams coach brought me in the office, in his office, and he was like, his name was Dave Fitt, special teams coach for the Lions. Actually, he was like, I'll never forget this. It was like my third day or fourth day there. He's like, you want to be a linebacker like in this league, right? I was like, I mean, yeah, absolutely. He's like, so like, do you think you can start like right now? I was like, I mean, I'd like to. He's like, I'm gonna tell you right now, you're not gonna start right now. So you better make the team on special teams if you wanna be here. I was like, all right, sounds good. But like, you need to hear that, right? Coming in here, like, there's so many guys that I feel like come in and be like, oh, like I'm not starting, yada yada. Like maybe it's not for me, but it's like you just got to find your way in. And he was able to do that for me, and it worked out from there.
So, and what did you learn while you're in your time in Philly? I know obviously you went to a Super Bowl, so you got to be kind of part of that deal. But what was it like to be around all those type of veterans and learn from that type of group?
Yeah, I mean, I came in and it's like Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox, Malcolm Jenkins, Rodney McLeod, like all these like dudes who are like the top of their position, like Jason Kelsey, all these just vets. I walk in and obviously just like a young kid, you're like, all right, like this is different for sure. It was definitely like an older team too, and guys like Zach Ertz and stuff like that I was able to really like connect with early on, and kind of just, especially when you're coming in, you just kind of want to find your place in a way. I feel like for me, and I was able to just honestly take things from those guys' games and kind of put it into mine. But honestly, like that scout teamwork that I had like my first year was huge because every day I was going against Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, Brandon Brooks, Jason Peters, like just grown men out there. And it really helped me a lot, man. Go from kind of, scout team guy to then getting some reps on defense, and then, eventually starting.
We had Jason here, I think it was a couple years before you got here, and he was like 40, 41. And like, I'm obviously impressed by Big Dog that he still does it, and still does it at a high level. But obviously if you're playing tackle, you got to play you're playing every snap of the game. So he came at, I think he was 41 when he was 40 or 41 when he was here. And this dude was one of our best offensive linemen. And it was like crazy athletic. I guess he was one of my former tight ends coach, Clancy Barone, worked him out. I think when he was in Atlanta, when he was first coming out of college as a tight end. And he told there was a couple of reasons they didn't, wherever he ended up going, and it didn't work out between those two. But they were like, yeah, he was a freak athlete, and they were able to move him over to tackle. But it is crazy seeing those type of guys go to work.
Bro, it's wild. I even like to this day, like I remember like my first like camp practice, and I just remember like I had the B gap or whatever, and he was just like climbing to me, and like he put his hands on me, dog, and I was like, yo, like this is like the strongest feeling I've ever had.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, strong dude.
He's a different dude for sure, man.
Yeah, and you get those vets, they come in. I remember the first day we had a pretty young offensive line, I think at the time, or at least an experienced offensive line, and obviously, I mean, I think he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame left tackle player. And he comes in, and the cadence wasn't like fully, going and fully right. And those tackles, they need that cadence to get off on the football.
Oh, yeah.
And whoever was playing quarterback, I mean, he snapped back after the first play because he had a false start because he was trying to time the snap count. Yeah. And he was like, "You better get this freaking cadence right." It was like shot everybody into a standstill there to get the cadence
serious,
going. Man.
Yeah,
he was a serious dude.
Serious good dude though.
Yeah, really good dude. All right, so then you're in Philly. You get played in the Super Bowl game, and then you become a free agent. What was that whole process like? And whole process like, and what was that like coming back home, back to Chicago?
Yeah. So yeah, go to Philly, lose the Super Bowl, brutal. Still haven't watched that game. Probably never will.
Me too.
And then honestly, so then like 3 days later, I get on a flight and me and my wife go get married in Cabo. So
No way.
it was yeah. So we were planning. We planned this the year before, obviously, and she was like, "All right." Like I was like, "Well, like, what if we go to the Super Bowl? Like, you can't plan it like early February or whatever."
God.
And she's like, "All right, like just to be safe, like let's do it like a week after or whatever." I was like, "All right, cool." And then we end up going. So the whole time she's like happy that we're going and all that, but inside she's like, "Oh my God!" Like I'm trying to like plan this wedding. Yeah, like get everything together. But it was honestly like a blessing to just kind of, focus on like what's important in life after like a tough loss like that, and just to experience something like that with her. It was incredible. But so then shortly after that, get back, and then kind of all that stuff starts happening, and when I heard there was like potential to come back to Chicago, and I knew that the Philly door was closed, I was like, I gotta see what this is about. Like this is what you grow up thinking about. And so being able to honestly just get on the phone once it was kind of like a done deal, and get all my bearings together that I was coming here, I was pumped, man. As you know, like coming back to Chicago, there's no better feeling for me, honestly. And no, it worked out. It did.
No, it's a great city and great place to be. And, obviously we're building a really cool thing here, I think. And it's been a lot of fun. So last thing for me, I know how important it was for me this year to be elected as a captain, as a hometown guy. If you kind of talk about what that has meant to you and what that's been like to you to be a captain for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and this is my first time being a captain. But I think for me, that's such a huge honor because it's voted on, the guys that you're around every day, right? It's voted on the guys in the locker room. And, I think to me it's really one of the greatest honors to be honest with you, and to be able to do it here, right? To have a Bears jersey with like a C on it, something that you can keep for the rest of your life and show your kids and all that. Like it means the world to me. So it's been pretty crazy, man. And I'm excited with what we got going on here. But and we got a great group too. I think from captains to everyone else, and I think that's what's cool about what we have too. And I don't know if you feel the same, but I feel like it's a place where like everyone kind of leads in their own way. So it's cool. We have captains, but there's so many leaders on this team, man. So it's cool to be a part of.
Yeah, it's definitely a really great group, a great locker room. I feel like everyone gets along really well, and it's cool to see everyone, how we've been vibing really since the start of OTAs, up through now. So it's been a cool evolution of it all. Adam, I don't know if you want to hit with TJ with any questions that you got before he goes.
Yeah, well, Cole, I believe you said on this show that the hardest hit you ever took was actually from TJ.
Yeah, I don't know if you know that, TJ. Did you know
I
that?
had no idea, but I'm interested to hear about it.
I think it was when you first got here in camp, and I was like running an insert type of play, and I filled in against you. And do you remember that? And we hit each other, and I was like, it was the first time I've been like, when I get a full steam going, like I'm not stalemating with people, and like I stalemated with you, and it was like, woo wee! Like I took a step back, and I was like, that was a hit.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it was like either our first or second day of pads.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Very early on.
Yeah,
very early on.
All juiced up, feeling good. I'm the new guy on the block too. I'm like, all right, well, like, this is the best tight end. Like, let's do it. And hey, I felt that one too, so don't worry about it.
No, I think I remember saying something. You said that you had felt it as well, but that was quite the hit. And then obviously we see all the hits and that you make in the games, and it's pretty remarkable to watch. And hence the reason that Flus calls him the Hitman.
Yeah.
He's the hitman.
Well, and my next thing is kind of for both of you guys, like being Chicago area guys playing for the Bears. Like Ryan Poles has talked about this. I can't imagine there's actually like an incentive for him to like go out and get Chicago guys, but he has talked about like the value of like once you guys are here playing for your own team. There's a handful of you guys in that locker room.
Yeah.
So I mean, is there something special for you guys? Like just is there anything extra to that? Do you guys bond a little bit more?
Well, I mean, I'll speak on this first, but I think personality wise, like I think Midwest people just kind of gravitate towards one another, and I think that kind of happens
100%.
pretty naturally. And Midwest people just know how to have a good time with a lot less. I think I'm real. Like we could all just sit like Midwest, like you could sit by the fire on a October night and whatever, drink a few beers. Like that's Midwest, and like that's kind of the guys that we have in the locker room that are family oriented, but get along great and look to have a good time and those type of things. But when it's time to work, we all go to work, and I think that's kind of embodies the Midwest culture of that. And I think another part to it is just the familiarity that you have with the area. There is something to that. Like it is nice for me. Like I know the area. I never had lived over in the North Shore area, but I knew the Chicago area, and there's a comfort and there's 22 and there's I-90 and there's 90. You just know your way around a little bit better, and it brings a sense of comfort from when you're outside the facility too, and all those type of things do play into how you're going to perform on the field. I think that's just from my aspect on it.
No, 100%. I do think like, and obviously being like on a different team and then, coming here, I think it is crazy like how many of like their like hometown guys are here. It's pretty cool because I think that's like one cool place about this franchise in general is it just recognizes, history in a sense, and also like understands like how much, not that other guys don't care about the team and things like that, but like we've been through it, you know what I'm saying, like watched it, like lived it. I think you do take like a little bit more pride in playing well here and wanting to win. So it's pretty crazy, but it's a good group too. Like when we did that interview last year, Cole, we had when it was like all the high school guys and we had all our shirts. I was like, all right, there's a lot of us. Like this is for real. So it's pretty cool.
TJ, growing up here, when you had linebackers like Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs playing, Lance is a teammate of ours here at CHGO. I mean, how much did you look up to those guys? Especially Lance playing that position now for the Bears. I mean, how much did you watch him growing up and look up to him?
Yeah, I mean, it was, what I'm saying, it was every week. Those were our guys too. It was Lance. For me, it was Lance, Urlacher, and Mike Brown. It was just like, I don't know, those were like the dudes, you know what I'm saying? And like for me, I thought obviously Urlacher can do whatever you need him to do on the football field, but to me, like Lance was the guy that like made it go in a sense, and it was cool being able to watch him growing up, and even now we get like you can go back on the iPad and watch like some of those games from back then, and you can just watch how those guys played and moved, and it's pretty crazy. It is.
TJ, I got one last thing just so we can hear this from I want Adam to hear this question. Who has the tougher media market, Philadelphia or Chicago?
Ooh. It's tough because they're both pretty interesting. I mean, I think for me, like obviously like growing up, like my dad was listening to sports radio, like he was listening to all that. I would say, and obviously I think it gets to you if you let it get to you, but I think Chicago is more of I think Chicago's more personal with it at times, and I think Philly is just like they just want to, they're kind of crazy, but they just want to win. So I think they're both different in their own way, but both equally as intense, if that makes sense.
Both equally as intense and as crazy.
Correct.
It's good to hear. No, I'm kidding.
Correct.
We're all just messing around.
Well, do you have any good stories though about the Philly fans?
I mean, it's similar to here, right? Like they're super passionate. Like every single game is dead serious. So Tarpy's walking by right now. Tarpy, yep. Hey Tarp.
and I'll tell guys like at halftime when we were playing Tennessee and we're getting booed already at halftime.
Yeah.
Guys are like, wow, that's crazy. They're booing us already. I'm like, yeah, dude, this is Chicago. Like, this is Chicago.
Yeah.
This is what it is. So
that's what it was in Philly too. Like, so we were the Super Bowl year. We were 8-0 or 9-0, and we were losing to Washington Commanders at halftime, and we were getting booed. And we were like, all right, this is nuts. Like, we're undefeated right now.
Yeah,
that's what it is. They expect.
But that's also like from the other perspective and the flip side of it, like those are the type of fan bases that I think I want to play for too, because
100%.
The flip side of it is so great. So, and like obviously I'm expecting to be on the good side of it more often than not. But those are the type of environments that I want to be in, the type of fan bases I want to be part of. So it's fun to be in a place where it means so much to people.
100%, man. It's like, it's better when you go into the game and you knowing that like everyone's in this game and like everyone is watching it closely and like they're passionate about it. Like that's what makes football to me.
Absolutely.
Follow up on that. I know we weren't in Chicago, but did you guys sense that in London a little bit? Yeah, as you guys had that such a big win, all those cool moments that happened in that game, just to the point you're talking about, like, yeah, there's the booing, there's all these hard things, but when the reward comes, like you really feel it.
Yeah, and Bears fans travel too, so that was cool to see in London, and I'm sure there's Bears fans that are already overseas, but it seemed like a lot of people came out to travel for that game as well, and that's part of the element too. And we know when we go on the road here, I'm sure when we go to Arizona, like there's going to be a lot of Bears fans in Arizona, and I know there's a lot of Chicagoans that either live there now or go vacation there this time of year, but they're going to travel and going to show out to games. So I think that's a fun part of it too as well.
No, 100%. It was honestly, it was so much louder than I thought it was going to be in London. Like, especially when we were on defense and they were on offense, I was like, this is pretty crazy. So, I mean, and we both know like Chicago travels so well. So, every game to us, like it feels like a home game in a sense. It really does.
TJ, I can't let you get out of here without at least one Wisconsin Badger question. Badger to Badger here, because I was there. So I was there when your defensive coordinator Jimmy Leonard was actually still playing. Just what was the best thing about playing in Madison?
I mean, to me, obviously, heavily biased, but there's no better place to play. I think, again, like, especially, I live in Wisconsin for half the year. My wife's from Wisconsin. There's some things to do, but there's not a ton to do. So Badger football games are looked at in pretty high regard. But it's such a great city, man. It's again, another like passionate fan base. Teams are always really good. I think summertimes in Madison, similar to Chicago, but summertimes there are great, man. You can't beat it. Out on the terrace, got a little pitcher and stuff like that, and just hanging out. It's tough to beat. It really is.
That's awesome. Well, TJ, appreciate you stopping by. Good stuff here. I think you were our first defensive player, so I think we're getting more guys involved now.
We've had 3 special teamers.
Yeah, 3 special teamers and no defensive guys. I was like, I think
Cole's
the first
one of them now,
guy.
so I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with them now. Let's relax on that one. And there's like four long snappers now in our building, which is pretty funny. But that's another thing to tackle. But all right, man, I appreciate you stopping by.
Absolutely. Good talking to you guys.
All right, man.